Chris here. We are back this week with a new press car to test, film, and review. I wanted to film this one at night. This is the new 2017 Toyota 4Runner TRD Off-Road. Not the TRD Pro, this is kind of the more street-friendly version. It's got stock suspension, nice street-worthy tires that are quiet and comfortable and smooth, but it's got some TRD Off-Road badging, and it's got still like that hill control and crawl control, as well as locking rear differential, stuff like that. So let's take it out. Let's see what its road manners are like. I just picked up this car today. Actually, it was just delivered today to test. I've got it for a week, and these are going to be kind of my first impressions on what it's like to drive the 4Runner. I imagine it's going to be pretty similar to a lot of other Toyota truck SUV offerings, but let's go for a drive and find out. Traditional key, appreciate that. Got a little reverse camera in there. Lines don't turn to tell you where you're going, but it's good enough. It gives you the idea. I do like the interior lighting from the dashboard and gauge cluster in this truck. It does look nice. You know, it's interesting. Toyota has been, they still kind of have some of these old school truck and SUV offerings. I noticed this with the Toyota Tacoma a few months ago, it was actually the Toyota Tundra, and, you know, basically doesn't have many more features than a truck did 10, 15 years ago, except for maybe the XM radio, but there was even XM radio back then. There's a couple new things about these trucks, but honestly, they're pretty bare bones, pretty basic. They're kind of old school. You've still got a traditional key. You know, you've got the same cruise control system that Toyota's had for like the last just forever. They're dependable trucks, though. They're reliable. They're nice to live with. Funky seat rattle over there. I think there's about 270 horsepower from this V6, 278 pound-feet of torque. That goes through a 5-speed automatic transmission. So far from what I've seen, transmission is nice, shifts pretty quickly, pretty smoothly. Some slightly rougher shifts here and there, but overall it's pretty good. Plenty of power from this V6. Out here on the highway going 70 miles an hour, we're cruising at just about 2,000 RPM, and it's really quiet. It's very quiet. These tires are virtually silent going down the road. You can hold a conversation in here, no trouble. This isn't like the TRD Off-Road where you've got just a little bit of road noise. Excuse me. Steering's nice and light. Very streetable, comfortable SUV to drive around, and it's nice that this could probably have some off-road capabilities too. You still have your high-low locking differentials, and you've got all your control, your different modes for different types of terrain up here. We took for Winding Road magazine, we took a TRD Off-Road Pro 4Runner out to Bundy Hill a couple years ago. You can search for that video under the off-road playlist, and it was great. It did everything we asked of it, except ground clearance was a little bit low. We kept hitting the side sills a little bit, and it was just a little bit big for the trails. So we found that on some of the tighter sections we were getting some scraping from branches, and it was just a little bit big for the tighter off-road sections. which is understandable. I will say, for a big SUV, this does corner pretty well. 50 miles an hour on this entrance ramp, pretty flat handling. There is quite a lot of dive under braking, however. You'll notice that this squishy suspension just kind of floats around at low speed if you're on and off the brakes. Speaking of the brakes, there's kind of a funky thing going on here with so for the first maybe inch and a half of pedal travel is just, it's all kind of squish. It's you kind of hit this point where there's about an inch and a half of just air, and then all of a sudden all this braking force comes in. So you kind of have to modulate your pedal input just a little bit differently. It's one of the first things I noticed when I started driving this truck. You get used to it, but it's a little bit of a funky brake pedal. Trucks and SUVs have never had perfect brake pedal feel, and this kind of falls along those lines. But the steering's pretty nice. It's nice and light, decent feedback. I know what's going on with the front end, and this car rides really, really well. Over this bump, it's just, you barely feel it. It's amazing. The suspension is definitely tuned to comfort, and for something like this, I think that's very appropriate. There's a guy doing gardening on the side of the road there. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he dropped something. But this really does just kind of float down the road very well. I noticed the same thing with the Tundra, honestly. That truck rode incredibly well for what it was. So there you go. I mean, I think those are that covers the first impressions on this. I've always been a fan of the 4Runner because of the hood scoop up front. I think that's just kind of a cool view right over the dashboard. Plenty of power from this engine. This V6 puts out, I think it's a 4-liter V6. It puts out plenty of power and torque. Yeah, nice truck. Is it worth 40 grand? I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to you guys. MSRP on this, I think, is around 37.3, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I'll put the final details in the description, but it's around 37. MSRP on this is around 40. And so far, besides this funky little seat rattle, which I think is just a headrest, this has 8,700 miles on it. Feels pretty tight. No rattles. That's really annoying. Actually, that's just the seat belt. That's what it is. There we go. That's fixed now. Boom. Virtually silent in here, which is one really nice thing about Toyotas, is they do a really good job just kind of buttoning things together well. All the controls are light. Ergonomically, it's great. I love these massive, kind of chunky, grippy Hvac controls here. And then, basic, no bones about it, controls with the heater vents, volume knob, everything is right, falls right to hand. Everything you need and nothing you don't. You've also got a control to lower the rear window, which is kind of neat. So yeah, there you go, guys. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'll be doing a day video on the Topher as well. On this, just kind of sum up my feelings throughout the week on this 2017 Toyota 4Runner TRD Off-Road. And that's probably the girlfriend saying that she's home. All right, thanks for watching, guys. We will see you in the next video. Take care and have a good week. We'll talk to you later. I like these wheels, and I like the TRD Off-Road badging. I think it looks cool. You do just have just a tiny little skid plate under there, just a little bit. I don't know if it's metal or not. It is. It's got some ventilation for oil pan cooling. Yeah. I'm still digging the styling on these. They've gotten a little funky, but I think it looks good still. Yeah. Alright. That's it.